One thing about living in Santa Carla I never could stomach. All the damn vampires.
You want burgers, hot dogs, some chicken, and ribs. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
Sure, when Jason Patrick drinks people's blood, it's cool. But if I drink a bottle of blood in public, totally not cool. Then I get cops called on me and all sorts of things.
Whose blood are you drinking?
I don't know. Keith or Sutherland's.
You wish.
I do wish. We would get to, there is a thing. You can tell people's like, I don't know. You could tell their taste in like maybe celebrity, like the celebrities they find hot.
Yeah.
By this movie. Because you have Corey Haim, Jason Patrick, and not Donald Sutherland. Keith or Sutherland in this movie. And like, you can tell people's like taste in men by like who they pick.
I guess so. Well, I don't know why anybody would think Corey Haim's hot in this movie. He's only like 13.
Oh, everybody thought Corey Haim was hot in this movie.
He's only like 13.
Hey, you know those Twilight moms who thought all those. Yeah, there was a whole group of 50-year-old ladies who loved the Twilight boys. Anyway, speaking of Twilight vampires and things that sparkle, we. Welcome to Night of the Horror File. That was a terrible segue.
I know. I was like, wait,
welcome
what?
to Night of the Horror File, a podcast where I take a horror movie and show my beautiful wife, Brittany, and hopefully she enjoys it, and sometimes she doesn't, which we're going to have to change the whole horror thing because we talked about Machete last week. But anyway, what did we watch this week?
The Lost Boys.
The Lost Boys from 1987. Vampires. We covered From Dusk Till Dawn. We've done The Hunger, Fright Night, and now we hit Joel Schumacher's take on our favorite bloodsuckers. The Lost Boys is one of those movies where you'll be hard-pressed to find someone who hasn't seen it.
Oh, except for me.
Except for Brittany. Now, this is kind of like the horror equivalent of Green Day's Dookie. Everybody has this movie. Everybody knows this movie.
Not me.
And except for Brittany. But I found The Lost Boys to be a sort of rite of passage to horror fans. You know, a lot of people saw this at a very early age, you know. I mean, because it's an easy movie to get into.
And it's not necessarily...
I mean, there's some sex in there, but it's very, like, dramatic and...
They don't show sex.
Yeah, you don't see things. It's implied. It's
right.
A very easy to watch movie.
Right.
Written by first-time screenwriters Janice Fisher and James Jeremiah, and named after the characters in Peter Pan. I'm sure everybody gets the obvious reason why. The Lost Boys was originally intended to be directed by Richard Donner of Superman, The Omen, and tons of other things. Richard Donner is an amazing director. But the screenplay by Janice and James was even modeled after his films, The Goonies. Which Richard Donner did, which also stars one of our players tonight, Corey Feldman. More on him later. See, the original idea was a light vampire adventure set around 13 to 14-year-old vampires, and the Frog Brothers were like these 8-year-old Cub Scouts. Like, so this would have been more of a kid movie, more to the Goonies, how the Goonies was. Did you ever watch the Goonies?
Yeah, I did actually see that.
Yeah, so it was more geared towards that.
Mm-hmm.
Was what they were going for. But then Donner dropped out, mostly because he had other projects coming up, like Lethal Weapon, which of course he'd drop out of this to go to Lethal Weapon because that is a huge movie. But in came Joel Schumacher. Now, Schumacher was Richard Donner's wife's idea.
Oh, okay.
She had seen a few of his movies and stuff like St. Elmo's Fire, which he directed years before this and stuff like that. So Schumacher intended on making this film sexier and more adult. So he brought us away from the kiddie element. So he brought in Jeffrey Boehm to retool the script and revise the characters' ages. And with Schumacher, we got the film we all know and love. Otherwise, The Lost Boys might have just ended up not as well known, and probably more along the lines of Monster Squad as just relatively cult movie, you know.
Oh, okay.
I
don't know. I've never seen Monster Squad.
We will get to that. Monster Squad, I love that movie, but it is very kiddie. And this one is more kind of...
Yeah.
I'll say this many times in this episode, but Twilight wanted to be this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they wanted
For
to be this so bad.
For sure.
And that first Twilight movie, like, and when I saw it, I was like, oh, you're really wanting to be the Lost Boys, like, so hard.
And you're not.
No. Like I said, otherwise it would have just ended up as a kiddie film. So without further ado, let's jump into 1987's The Lost Boys.
So this movie starts with me cutting your toes off.
Oh, okay. So this is one impressive cast we have here. I mean,
sure.
This is an ensemble cast from hell. Joel Schumacher himself said it was the best cast in the world, and they make the film, and I actually agree with him.
Oh, I agree too.
But also, the setting, in my opinion, helps as well. Filmed in California at the Santa Cruz Boardwalk, Santa Clarita, and parts of Los Angeles, the town of Santa Clara really does come alive as the murder capital of the world, as they say. And more on that in a little bit. But, like, I don't know. This like town really, you feel it.
Oh yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah, and especially these opening scenes and stuff. I love how they set up. There's a lot of just shots of weird people and like the missing children sign. That's a big thing in this movie because I mean murder. Like the vampires have been taking the children and stuff like that, and you get a feel for how this town is. It looks okay on the surface, but then underneath you can tell there's something.
The gritty underbelly.
And we love that.
Oh, yes. So this movie starts on a carousel. We immediately start with David and the Lost Boys starting a fight, getting kicked off the boardwalk. And the security guard that kicked them out gets attacked after the boardwalk is closed. But we don't see what happens.
No.
We just see him being like sucked up.
And that's the genius here. One of the cool things that they do here is when the vampires are flying or attacking or something like that, it's all in POV.
Right.
And they keep the vampires hidden as they fly, which at the time in 1987, this was a very smart idea because immediately we know who the vampires are. So they aren't really pulling a mystery on us when they introduce them on the carousel here.
Right.
We get it, you know. Schumacher does something like so smart with this use of POV. And he's very in control of his technical limits in this movie. This movie was only done for about $8 million.
Oh, only.
I know that's... I love how you react to that shit because you're like, oh, only $8 million. It's like, yes.
But, okay, The Evil Dead. Come on. That was like what? $1,000? Like,
yeah, it was pretty low budget, but at the same time, like this, think about like in 1987, there was movies being made for like $20 million and stuff like that. So like for a movie like this for $8 million, and this is the amazing part, for $8 million to go on to be so renowned, like considered a masterpiece of vampire culture and stuff like that. And we'll talk about how it influenced further
so
vampire
much,
stuff and stuff. But
only $8 million.
Only $8 million. But by showing a POV when the vampires are flying, Schumacher avoids the terribly aged look of green screen.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, like I think back to those Christopher Reeve Superman movies and stuff, and I love those movies. But like the flying scenes are pretty laughable now. You know how it is with the old
understand.
Movie flat. Yeah. This all could have looked very cheesy had he not done it this way. And the Lost Boys might not have aged as well in special effects, that is. Because the special effects in this movie are actually very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a very good job.
I mean, they had a budget of $8 million. They better have.
But what's kind of great about this movie is the special effects are very reserved. You know, Schumacher holds his hand and stuff on certain scenes and stuff like that. And really like it would be easy to go all out and just just fucking spend all your budget on special effects in a movie like this.
Oh, right.
But like he doesn't. He holds it back and he lets more of the story come through.
Right.
Like, and which it's a great story. Like,
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
it's much more artistic and limited, but that also makes for a stronger film. Even when we get to what is essentially a slaughter scene later on, we really only get like short glimpses of the gore and stuff, and the rest is kind of in our head, like.
Oh, yeah. I don't need hand holding through stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is fine. So now we meet Lucy, Michael, and Sammy and their dog, Nanook. I don't know how to say that. But the dog is very important.
Yes, the dog is very important, actually.
They're driving to Santa Carla because they are moving in with Lucy's dad because she's going through a divorce, we find out. And I didn't write this in my notes, but I did want to include this because it is important.
Okay.
On the back of the Santa Carla sign, it says murder capital of the world.
Yeah, and we will get to that. Now, Schumacher's first choice for the role of Lucy was always Diane Wiest. However, she had just won an Academy Award for the film Hannah and Her Sisters. Diane Wiest is an amazing actress. So he never expected her to actually accept the role in an $8 million vampire flick. But she said yes. And of course, Schumacher was like over the moon. There's a lot of times in this movie that he gets so surprised by like things working out.
Right.
Like if you listen to any director's commentaries on these DVDs or Blu-rays, like listen to Schumacher's. I love Schumacher's commentaries because he gets so excited about film. He gets so excited about these things. But according to the writers, her name was actually taken from Bram Stoker's Dracula, and her character in a way does resemble Lucy Wisteria, in the novel, if you're familiar with Dracula.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't remember there being a Lucy in the movie.
Well, there is a Lucy in Dracula, the original Dracula, but it doesn't follow the book very closely.
Okay.
But like Lucy in the book, which is told in like it's kind of hard to explain that book, but it's told in like diary entries. On paper, like as we're sitting here talking about this, the Lost Boys should not work. This should not work at all. You take vampire lore and smash it in the middle of a teen sex comedy, sort of like a horror infused John Hughes movie, like the Brat Pack and stuff, which Joel Schumacher always wanted to do a movie like that. And he did St. Elmo's Fire before this and stuff like that, which is sort of along the same lines. Stars Emilio Estevez and Robert Lowe. But like it shouldn't work. And no one had faith in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
That it would work, but it does.
Because their budget was only $8 million.
Well, no. But no, this works in spade. And even Alex Winter, who plays Marco later on, like he even said, he was like, I read the script and I was like, hey, this is not going to be good. Like this is going to be way too off the wall. And indeed, some people do consider this more of a comedy. And then some people do consider this just straight horror. To me, I think The Lost Boys kind of skates that gray area in between.
I agree.
And I think that's what confuses some people who don't like this movie, is because it skates that gray area so well. Like the comedy and horror are so well meshed together in this movie that it's just, you can't, it's so offbeat that you'll never be able to make another Lost Boys. And we'll talk about the sequels later on in the show.
Jesus, there's always sequels.
Yeah. Now, Santa Carla, as I said, is actually Santa Cruz. Even the boardwalk is there. That's an actual boardwalk. Those are still there. That boardwalk is still there. But Santa Cruz was actually known as the murder capital of the world at one time in real life. You had from 1970 to 1973, you had 28 brutal murders at the hands of serial killers John Linley Frazier, Herbert Mullen, and Edmund Kemper. I'm sure our true crime listeners will definitely know who those people are. So terrifying serial killers is basically is what we're talking about. And between those dates, they haunted Santa Cruz at the same time. You had 3 serial killers killing people at the same exact time.
fuck.
So needless to say, the city of Santa Cruz was not exactly excited about this movie, but they would come to accept it. Like, in fact, like I believe they show screenings of this movie. Well, not now because of COVID, but they show screenings of this movie on the boardwalk and stuff like
nice.
that. Yeah.
Nice. So when they pull up, they see Grandpa playing dead, and you can already tell he's a little weird. He does a lot of taxidermy stuff, and he has bones and animals everywhere. And the boys ask Grandpa if this is the murder capital of the world. And he basically says yes.
Yeah, he's like, well, let me just put it this way. If all the dead bodies got up and started walking around, we'd have a real population problem. And that takes me to Grandpa, who is my favorite fucking character in this entire movie.
Yes.
It is me as an old man.
For sure.
Like Brittany, while we were watching this, she was like, oh my God, this is you.
Yup.
Oh, but Grandpa, who's a favorite character of mine, is played by Tony Award-winning Bernard Hughes. Now, Hughes is considered one of America's most successful character actors, playing roles on TV, film, and stage. But Bernard Hughes does a fucking fantastic job in this movie, and he really doesn't have a lot of screen time. But at the same time, he is so memorable.
Oh, yes.
Like, I love when they go into the house and he explains, well, this is my drawer in the fridge. And it says old fart. And he has his snacks and his
he's like, this is where I keep my Oreos and my Diet Coke or something like that. I was
his
just
root
like,
beers.
his root beers.
Oh, but also what you might notice at the beginning of this movie, especially like when they're showing you the town and they're showing you like the ocean and stuff like that. It's beautiful out here.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Chapman was the cinematographer, known for his work on Raging Bull and Taxi Driver, 2 movies you haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
We ought to just fucking cover whatever. Like, we should do Taxi Driver on this fucking show.
Isn't that an action movie?
Sort of. It's a Martin Scorsese film.
Sure.
I
don't know what that means.
It's kind of hard to explain to you. It's more like an anti-hero film, but anyway. That brings me to another point, though, that this movie has a surfer punk rock gothic vibe going on. It has its own feel.
This is where I want to live.
Yes.
Whether it be the murder capital of the world or not.
I know. I'm like, I really want to move here. Like, if this exists still, and I don't think it exists outside the 80s anymore, sadly. But like, man,
this is where I want to be.
Besides the murder, I'm like, oh, everybody's so fucking weird and strange. And we even get the fucking People Are Strange by Echo and the Bunnymen playing over the credits. And which fits so fucking perfectly. I haven't really, we'll touch more on it later, but the music in this movie fits so well. I love the music in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, The Lost Boys has its own fucking feel to it.
Yes, I agree.
And it even it does something. Like, it brings normal vampire lore, like just well-known lore and stuff. They don't really add much to this lore of vampires. It's just a mixed match of a lot of different things. But at the same time, it deploys that stuff so perfectly. And it would actually go on to inspire so many other properties. Like, we talked about Twilight. I'm pretty sure Twilight, somebody saw The Lost Boys and wanted to use that a little bit and stuff. Basically, Twilight is the Mormon version of The Lost Boys. And look more into the writer of the Twilight series if you want to know more of that Mormon joke there. But this movie inspired Joss Whedon when he created Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, especially the fact that like Edgar Frog later on, Corey Feldman, he says, don't vamp out.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
is a term in the Buffy the Vampire series that they use over and over again. and
Oh,
stuff like that.
nice.
And if you watch the Buffy the Vampire, more of the series, not so much the movie.
Mhm.
If you watch that series, it feels like the Lost Boys.
Oh, I guess I'm going to
yeah.
have to watch it.
I love Buffy. I think I still to this day, I consider Buffy the Vampire series and the movie that he did, I consider that Joss Whedon's best stuff. I think Joss Whedon sucks ass.
Is
after
that who I think it is?
He did the Avengers and stuff like that.
Did he play an actor in Big Bang? He played himself. I mean,
yeah, I think he cameoed on that show.
and he played himself,
Yeah, I
right?
believe so.
I think so too.
Yeah,
And I thought it was a little weird.
bald guy.
No.
Oh, you're thinking about Will Wheaton.
Yes, that's
yeah,
who I'm
Will
thinking.
Wheaton is a whole separate.
Okay,
thing.
never mind.
He's
Never
from
mind.
Star Trek, but
Oh, okay.
But-
Will Wheaton. Someone completely different.
That's
Oh
okay.
my goodness.
we forgive you and love you. But Joss Whedon, not
Whedon.
not Wheaton,
Okay.
Will Wheaton,
Okay.
Will Wheaton.
Okay, you can stop now.
I love Will Wheaton. Actually, I don't like Joss Whedon.
Okay.
But no, I consider the best work Joss Whedon ever put out was the Buffy the Vampire stuff.
Okay.
I think that's his strongest work, and I think he sucks ass any other way. Maybe a Firefly. That was okay.
I only heard bad things about Firefly because it ended. Did they just like drop it?
They canceled it.
They canceled it.
Yeah,
That's right.
it wasn't really Joss Whedon's fault. They just kind of fucking canceled it. And he made a movie to wrap up the storylines and stuff like that. So there's the movie out there.
I think fans did not like that, though,
No,
from what I've heard.
fans don't like shit anymore.
That's
man.
true.
You're not going to please a fan worth a damn.
Whatever.
No, whatever.
So Michael and Sam are at a concert at the boardwalk, and Michael sees a girl across the way. This is Star, and he's very, very intrigued with her, like following her.
Oh, yeah. So enter during this whole concert. Enter Sexy Sax
Oh
Man.
my god!
And he has been called Sexy Sax Man. That is what he's known as. The
You couldn't
Sax
just
Man.
not talk about him.
No! How could I leave off Sax Man out of this episode? That would be sacrilege. People would be sending us DMs of how dare you not talk about the Sax Man.
Oh my god!
But now Tim Capello, who plays Sax Man here, wasn't an unknown dude before this, surprisingly. In fact, he had been touring as backup musician for Tina Turner, master saxophone player and stuff like that. And he even
Oh.
appears in music videos of hers. But it was the Lost Boys that made him famous. He goes to conventions, and the main thing people want to know about is the Lost Boys, and he finds that funny to this day because he was like, "I was a successful musician before this."
Right.
Now the song he sings here, "I Still Believe," that's actually that was recorded specially for this movie. And what a lot of people don't know is that a band called The Call was the first to actually do this. So this song that Tim Capello does is a cover. But guess what?
Nice.
This is the only version you'll ever hear about. Because honestly, compared to the original, Tim Capello's version is fiery as fuck. He knocked this out of the park. In fact, he did it in one take when they recorded it.
Oh dang!
Yeah, he did that all in one take. But Tim Capello is such a great guy. And it's so funny because, like, he was explaining, he was like, because people would be like, well, why are you so oily? And stuff. And he's like, well, that's what you did. It was the 80s.
Right?
You oiled yourself up and you bodybuild and stuff and you were sexy. And,
Right?
oh, man. And all that stuff that he's wearing, he just showed up. That's just his costume.
He was like, I feel like I would wear this in this movie.
Yes. And I gotta say, though, I don't think there's one movie that wouldn't benefit from Sax Man.
Oh my god!
Shoot me a movie. Shoot me a movie.
Schindler's List.
Schindler's List. I think it would be less depressing if, while Oscar Schindler, played by Liam Neeson at the time, if Liam Neeson was saying, I could have done more. I could have sold these buttons and saved more. I think it'd be less depressing if Saxman was behind him,
Oh my.
just playing that sax.
Oh my. No.
It's okay, Schindler. I still believe.
Oh. No. No.
Solo, the shit eating scene. How much better would that scene have been? Oh yeah, you haven't seen Solo yet, but the shit eating scene. How much better would that have been with just Saxman serenading everybody as they ate their own dookie? I think that would have went down a lot better.
I don't think so.
A Serbian film, that ending where he's raping his own child. Wouldn't it have been great if Saxman was there?
Nope. Still awkward.
I'm going to hell.
Still weird.
I am going straight to hell. Anyway, but that's the funny thing about life is the thing you get famous for and well known for are the things you just do randomly.
Right.
Like this was just a fun little side thing for him to do, to appear in a movie.
And here we are.
Here we are.
So Lucy is also on the boardwalk, and she stops into a video store because a little boy is without his mother. So she goes to talk to the person inside the video store and to get help or whatever. Yeah. And then the little boy's mom comes. This goes with with the theme of missing children and stuff.
Yeah, there's a big theme here that I don't know if a lot of people catch. I'm sure a lot of people catch on. I'm putting words into people's mouth. But there's a big theme about like youth and stuff.
Right.
And, like finding your way, as a teenager or like a little kid or something like that. There's
right.
a lot of theme on that in this movie.
She talks to the manager also because there's a help wanted sign and she wants a job.
Right.
The Lost Boys go in there. The manager, Max, kicks them out. He said, I told you not to come in here. And Lucy tells Max that she needs a job.
So Schumacher wanted to pick someone who was really unintimidating and just normal. So Ed Herman plays Max here. Now, Ed, Brittany knows from the Gilmore Girls as the grandpa.
Yes.
That's the funny thing, because like I knew him from this. Like this was the first thing I ever saw him in, and he's been in a ton of movies. Ton of great roles, and maybe we'll one day cover more of Ed Herman, but I knew him from this, so it's really funny that you came at it knowing him as the kind
as
grandpa.
Richard Gilmore,
as Richard Gilmore from the Gilmore Girls. So how was this? How was this?
Very weird.
Was it weird?
But it's weird. I think mostly it was weird because he looks so different. He's so much older in the Gilmore Girls.
Right.
Like, he put on a lot of weight. He's still tall. He put on a lot of weight. He has shorter hair, like losing his hair and stuff. And that really was it. Like, I can separate the two characters. Obviously, this is a vampire movie.
Yeah.
That's not, so.
But yeah, I mean, this is a testament to Ed Herman's acting skills. Though.
Oh, yeah.
He does a fantastic fucking job, and he's a vampire in this movie.
Right.
But he plays Max. Now, Ed... at the time, he was playing some historical figures and straight-laced characters, what he's really good at.
Oh, yeah.
And so he jumped on this because it was so fucking different. And
Nice.
I don't blame him because, like, if you're playing all these, like, kind of boring historical figures. And
like
you're
these stuffy.
Yeah, stuffy characters. And you're like, I get to be a fucking vampire? Oh, fuck yeah. Let's do this. Now, Herman... he does a great job here in this movie and stuff like that, and I love him in this thing, man. He really sticks out, and he really drives home the fact of the 80s. Every scene that Ed Herman is in, the way he's dressed, the way his house looks later on, this fucking video store, it is the 80s to a T.
Oh yeah, the 80s.
But that's what's funny is that this whole entire movie is like a time capsule back to 1987.
Oh yeah.
Like the clothes, the lack of cell phones. If you ever want to travel back in time, The Lost Boys is your time machine. Like,
I agree.
It is so good on that.
Oh, I agree. So Michael and Sam are following Star, and Sam has had enough. So he stops at the comic book store and he meets Edgar and Alan Frog. And they give him a comic called Vampires Everywhere.
Now, Corey Feldman, ladies and gentlemen, one half of the two Coreys, and he'd already been in so many awesome movies like The Goonies, which you see on Max's video store shelf.
Oh, really?
Yeah, The Goonies is right there, which, by the way, the amount of VHSs in that store, like to us now.
Because that's all they sold back
I
then.
know, but to us now, it's like, oh my God, the collection. The collection must grow.
Oh, God.
A lot of
okay.
people collect I don't collect VHSs because I have to limit my collection things to.
I know, because you were like, you
run out
wanted to
of
go
room.
into the record store the other day, and I just looked at you like,
Yeah, and I was like, okay, you're right. If I start collecting too many vinyls, we're going to run out of room in our house. So
I need another house for your stuff.
This is why Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter have separate houses.
Make some more money and get me a separate house.
Got to make that Tim Burton money. Anyway, is
Well-
he making money nowadays? Anyway,
He makes enough money from his old shit.
yeah, that is fucking true. Royalties. But now Feldman was 14 at the time. And he did this and was already battling a cocaine addiction.
Nice.
Jesus, ever loving Christ. I think at 14, I was like just learning how to masturbate really well. So I didn't have to do it all day.
The look on your face, though, you like got excited about that really well.
I really wish this was a video medium, but like I was just learning how to get myself off pretty good, you know, like, oh, I got this mastered. But Corey Feldman had a cocaine addiction.
He's like, I'm going to one up you here, buddy.
He said that this was, here's the problem with, you know, with how his life was going at the time. He said that this was a great movie and he loves that he did it, but at the same time he was making a conversion from child to adult so fucking breakneckingly fast.
Oh, yeah.
And this is why they tell you not to put children into show business.
Right.
So it was also a very painful time in his life combined with something awesome. So imagine the confusion that probably was going through this
Oh,
person's
yeah.
mind at 14.
Ugh.
This marks the first movie that he appeared alongside his lifelong friend Corey Haim, who we will discuss later. Now Feldman almost actually wasn't in this movie. In fact, he got fired for showing up coming down off of cocaine.
Oh, my God.
A 14-year-old. Joel Schumacher was pissed. I mean, you know, because he kept dozing off during takes.
Oh, no.
So he was falling asleep while they were trying to shoot a fucking movie.
Oh, no.
Corey came back, though, apologized, and promised to be prepared for work, and he was from then on out.
So he just did more cocaine.
Maybe. I don't
to
know.
stay awake.
I don't know. But, like, there's one thing you won't hear us talk about on the show, and that's the problems Corey Haim and Corey Feldman really faced in Hollywood.
Right.
Because I don't have the time to go into that. All of the information comes from Corey Feldman. So I really don't want to sit there and spout that off
Right.
if it's wrong. But I also want to believe in people. You know, I want to believe in victims. So we're going to skim past that a little bit.
Okay.
We're not going to talk too deep into that or anything
Okay.
like that. But now I don't really have to discuss the names Edgar and Allan. Everyone can understand the obvious influence there, Edgar Allan Poe. But Schumacher had given Corey and Allan some. But Schumacher had given the Frog Brothers, the actors, some homework to do and had them watch action movies at the time, such as Sylvester Stallone and Chuck Norris movies. And you can really see that in their roles here. Because like as he explained, you know, you're G.I. Joes. Like you're supposed to be these heroes and stuff like that. And the Frog Brothers, man.
Oh, they crack me up.
They are the best. What the sequels did right, what the direct-to-video sequels did right, was they focused more on Corey Feldman.
Nice.
Yeah, and the second sequel, I think they brought them both back together. So it's
okay.
more the Frog Brothers, like the Adventures of the Frog Brothers is the sequels. If you want to learn more about that, But this movie can still stand on its own.
Oh yeah. So this is kind of quick scenes back and forth.
Yeah.
But Star goes and gets on a bike with David, and they ride off, and Michael's very disappointed to see that she's like led him on, maybe. I don't know. She didn't say anything
what
to
you're
him.
what you're seeing here is a classic competition between two males in their natural habitat. They're competing over the same female, or at least Michael thinks they are.
Right.
I don't think that's something you get.
was
is that
just
not
like-
something you get?
No, I understand, but I was just like,
okay, Star shows an obvious interest in him.
right,
She goes to get on his motorcycle, but then David pulls up and said, "Get on,"
right.
and then they go. So
Ugh.
that's the thing. Michael's like, well, fuck. Like,
Damn it, I almost had her.
yeah.
Then we get a scene of two people in a car, and they're parking. And they get attacked. Like the whole roof of their car like gets ripped off.
Which again, we got more of that POV vampire shots and stuff
Right.
like that. We don't have to see them
Actually
on
attacking
wires
them.
or on a green screen or anything cheesy like that.
Right. Then we get a scene where Grandpa shows Sam his car, and he says he's going to drive them to town, but he doesn't actually end up going anywhere. Because he says, "I don't like to go to
he's
town."
like, aren't we having fun? He's like, we're not going anywhere. He's like, oh, this is about as close to town as I like to get.
And they just don't go
I
anywhere.
was like, Grandpa, you're my spirit animal. But James and Janice do a wonderful job at creating an alternative, it's like an alternative to Peter Pan, to the Peter Pan fable.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? As I said, this was originally a G-rated movie, and Schumacher did not enjoy those films, and he didn't do those films. Strange thing, though, a star in this movie was originally a boy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was no girls in this movie.
Oh, that's
like
funny.
in the original story. The casting of Jamie Gertz was actually Jason Patrick's idea. see,
Jamie Gertz.
Oh my God. That intro when she comes out when they're at the concert.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit. I love Schumacher's commentary because he's like, all I can say about this scene is this is Jamie Gertz at 18, you guys.
Yes, I did
This is
hear
it.
that part.
This is what this looked like.
Oh my gosh, even Jamie Gertz at 35.
Oh, Jamie Gertz is a beautiful woman.
Oh yeah.
But the funny thing was Schumacher was not looking for a Jamie Gertz. He was looking for more of a blonde waif type actress like Meg Ryan.
Oh.
He was more looking for a blonde kind of almost like virginal kind of person.
Oh, right.
To play this character. But it was Jason. Because he had been in a movie with Jamie Gertz at the time before this, and he was constantly like, "Oh no, it's got to be Jamie Gertz. It's got to be Jamie Gertz." And Schumacher on his commentary, he's like, "I really think he had a crush on her. I think that's what this was."
Probably.
But he admits he was like, it was perfect. Jamie Gertz was this role.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because I don't see like a blonde. Yeah. Meg
think that
Ryan
would've ruined the
type,
movie.
like
I think that
hanging
would-
out with the Lost Boys.
Yeah, it would have been too stereotypical.
but
like,
I just don't see that.
Yeah, it would have been weird.
Yeah.
It would have been off-putting.
I don't know, because she's got that dark hair and the dark eyes. Like, I don't know.
Because this movie's so gothic.
Yes.
Like, this
yes.
movie feels like a gothic horror movie
I
without
agree.
being that way.
I agree.
And so to put someone like virginal and kind of like blonde and, like shit like that, I think would have ruined the feel.
I agree.
And I don't know if Schumacher could see that at the time.
So Sam is back at the comic shop, and the Frog Brothers are hinting about vampires around Santa Carla. They tell them basically they are vampire vigilantes and
Oh,
give
shit.
him another vampire comic book.
Now, of course, the Frog Brothers double as like the comic relief, but at the same time, we'll discuss it. They're fucking right.
Yes.
This comic book here, though, was made specifically for the film. And Schumacher was like, I think everybody in my line of work wants to make their own comic books.
Oh, yeah.
And he's right. I believe you can buy a replica now for like $20, and I'd love to get my hands on that, honestly, and just hang it up here in the studio. That would be amazing. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me weird?
You have a whole box of lots of comic books
I do have a
that you
lot of
haven't
comic
even
books.
touched.
Again, I stopped collecting because I was like, I got one or the other if I collect everything. I mean, already our studio also doubles as our bedroom. I mean, behind the scenes here, but like our studio also doubles as our bedroom, and like my shit is exploding in here. Like it's like creeping away from the studio and going around the bedroom. And
I swear when the kids move out, it's just going to be fucking horror rooms.
Oh, wouldn't it be great?
No.
Oh, wouldn't it be great?
No.
We're going to have to get a bigger house just for my shit.
Nope. You know what? You can have 2 of the 3 bedrooms.
Ooh, okay.
Because we have 3 bedrooms for the kids and then our room. You can have 2 of the 3 bedrooms, but I get the big room because I'm going to have tables everywhere and I'm just going to
I can't fucking help it.
I'm going to have puzzles.
I can't help it because I tried to just do movies and then I'm like, oh my God, Tom Savini's selling masks for the COVID pandemic. I have to pay $100 for it. I can't believe you let me do that. Like, you're the best wife in the world.
That mask was $100?
That mask was $100.
That mask was you didn't tell me that mask was $100.
Yes, I did. You
I
agreed
do
to
not
it.
believe you.
I was like, it's $100 and you never have to get me 2 birthdays worth of presents.
I didn't get you 1 birthday worth of presents ever. You did not tell me that was $100.
Well, it's handmade. It's Tom Savini and it's signed. It's a signed Jason mask.
You didn't
from Tom
tell me it
Savini.
was $100.
I think $100 was a steal, but that's beside the point. Anyway, I would love to have this replica of this comic book hanging up on my wall.
No.
For $20
Nope.
though. That's pretty
Nope.
cheap.
Nope.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Brittany's
$100.
very angry at me.
How did
right
I not
now.
know this a long time ago when you got it?
But I told you. We talked about it.
I don't remember. How much did you pay for those fucking shoes, too?
I don't want to talk anymore. let's get back to the Lost
I
Boys.
have
shall
one
we?
pair of jeans.
I only have 1 pair of jeans.
You had more jeans. You ripped your jeans.
I know because of my big old dick.
You wish.
I do wish, actually.
Oh my. Wow.
Okay, anyway, back to the Lost Boys. Oh.
So Michael's at the boardwalk and he sees Star again and they start talking. He's going to go have dinner together. But David stops them and Star gets on his bike and they invite Michael to ride with them. So they ride until they almost fall off of a cliff overlooking the ocean. And Michael is pissed and now he wants to fight David.
Yes, and this is what I talked about. They're at odds right now because
Right.
competing for
Who's
Star.
gonna get
This
the
is
girl?
a machismo thing. Nowadays, though, Schumacher probably would have had to have people wear helmets in the sequence.
Probably.
But and even in the documentary, and even in the commentary of the Blu-ray of this, he's like, "Hey, helmets save lives." I should probably say that.
But it wasn't cool in 1987.
No, it was 1987. But this sequence with the motorcycles is one of my all-time favorite sequences in a horror movie. I don't know why I love this sequence with the motorcycle chase. It's so awesome.
How many times are you going to say sequence?
Sequence. Sequence.
Okay, anyway.
I'll say it sexier.
No.
Sequence. I still believe. All right, anyway,
my God.
I've been drinking. So Keith Sutherland actually broke his wrist while performing a wheelie on his motorcycle. So he had to have his motorcycle in this film adapted to drive with one hand. But this whole thing is such a compelling scene as Michael tries to keep up with the rest, almost as if he wants to fit in so much, but also at the same time, you know.
He's got to look cool for stars.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, you can't look bad. A lot of this movie does deal with growing up in youth, which I think it's kind of nice. It kind of captures that feeling you get right before you enter manhood, or like before you enter adulthood or something like that, where like you're at the cusp.
Right. Like, if I make the right decisions, I'll really be a man.
Yes.
I'll be really
yes,
grown
you're
up.
so confused, but at the same time, and you make all these terrible fucking decisions. You make so many. If any of you are underage and listening to us, first of all, turn off the podcast. But you will make so many bad decisions before you make the right ones.
Right.
Yeah, and this movie captures that.
I don't know. I'm 31 and still making some pretty shitty decisions.
Oh, we make shitty decisions 24/7. But oh shit, that got too real. But it's you know, it's such a compelling scene here. Now, Jason Patric plays Michael here. And by the way, the name Michael is uttered around 118 times, I believe, in this movie.
Oh, my gosh.
Because even you were like later on, just tell him what's going on. Stop saying Michael.
Just fucking talk.
Jason Patric was also, he was what Schumacher wanted for Michael. But
Me
Jason,
too.
I thought you didn't care for Jason Patric.
No, I don't like the blonde dude.
Keith Sutherland. That's
I
right.
don't like
That's
Kiefer
right. You don't like
Sutherland.
Keith, which is weird because everybody loves Keith Sutherland.
Well,
But anyway,
they can have him because I'm going to take Jason Patric.
I think I'm a Corey Haim man.
He was 13 in this movie.
Well, yeah, but I'm not saying I'd do a 13. Ugh, never mind. Let's just get away from this. But
See?
Michael was, or I'm sorry, Jason Patric was Schumacher's choice for Michael, but Jason turned this down so many times because he was afraid to get typecasted after a horror movie. You know, he was like, I don't want to do a vampire movie. You know, because he was like, it's going to be exploitation, and because around this time, you know, in the 80s. Vampire movies were pretty much exploitation and stuff like that.
Right.
But Schumacher persisted because, in his words, no one at age 18 at the time had this much talent. And I agree. Jason Patric like sticks
that
out.
much sexiness.
Oh, he is very sexy. He's got those pouty
oh my
lips.
God.
He's got those lips, man.
And his hair just.
His hair is amazing.
Oh.
Excuse us while we wipe down Brittany's podcast chair.
I'm sad. I'm sad. And I know I'm jumping ahead, but
You're sad that you didn't live through the 80s, huh?
no. I'm sad that I didn't get to see Jason Patric and what's her name have sex.
You didn't get to see it? You watched this movie, right?
They did not show them having sex.
Oh, no. Well, they didn't actually have sex.
Okay,
They're actors.
But I want to see that fake sex, okay?
I mean, yeah. Yeah, Jamie Gertz and Jason Patric are two people you would like to have, like, see have sex with each other.
That's what I'm saying. Even fake sex. I could have gotten off to that, okay? Like I could have seen one nipple and like a silhouette of a butt, and like I could have masturbated for days, okay?
Oh, shit. See, so you guys claiming that this is a sexist show, that's a woman saying that. Enjoy. Anyway.
Yes, I'm sexualizing them, okay?
But no, like Jason Patric is such a fucking great actor in this movie. And he really ties it together. Because, I mean, if you had no one around this time was acting like this. Like, compare Jason Patric's acting, which is like heartfelt, and he does go through emotions in this movie.
Right.
Like, that's one thing, emotions. Compare that to the other actors, the male actors in this movie. I
Like
mean,
Keith Sutherland.
well, Keith Sutherland does what he does in this movie, and he does it perfectly because that's what his character is. He's
Right.
an asshole, so he
Right.
has to be an asshole in this movie. So I think Keith Sutherland's perfect in this movie, but like, you know, I think if you got anybody else, it would have been less compelling.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you there.
You just want to see his dick.
Oh, yes, I do. And Jamie Gertz's ass.
Mm. Oh.
Like you don't want to see
This
all
movie
of that.
is sexy as shit. Like, let's just cut to the chase. I mean, even Schumacher himself has been like, I have this sexy cast. This is a sexy movie.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that's one thing that Schumacher did, or he said, he was like, people would ask me, you know, why do a vampire movie? Because if you look at Schumacher's like career and his movies and stuff like that, he really doesn't do anything like this much.
Uh-huh.
And like, so people are like, well, why do this and stuff? Like, he's like, well, vampires are sexy. Frankenstein's not sexy. So if I'm going to do a monster movie, I'm going to do vampires.
Because vampires are sexy.
Vampires are sexy.
Not the Twilight vampires.
Eat it. Eat it, Twilight.
So anyway, they all go down to a cave thing and they're smoking weed and get Chinese food. David tells Michael that he's eating maggots, but it's actually just rice, then worms, and then it's just noodles.
Yeah.
And it's like David is actually changing them back and
He
forth.
is. He's fucking with Michael's mind.
Right.
You know, which is another, like, it's kind of cool. And I'll talk about this more, but Schumacher he doesn't treat you as a fucking idiot.
Right.
Like, he just does the things that the vampires can do. He lays it out and you get it.
Right.
Like,
I didn't know vampires could do that though.
like I said, there's a lot of mishmash of different lores in here.
Oh, okay.
And vampires don't exist. So there's not like,
What?
there's not like an encyclopedia.
What?
Actually, I think I actually have a
vampire?
No, I don't have a vampire, or things would be a lot more sexy around here.
Dang it. You don't have a Jason Patrick just hanging around?
No, I don't have
You've been holding out on me?
Oh, you guys know why Jason Patrick hasn't appeared in much? Because he's in my closet.
Can I have sex with him?
Help! Help! Shut up, Patrick.
Can I have sex with him?
No, but well, if I can be involved, can I be involved?
You can watch.
All right, deal. Anyway. Anywho, but you know, he doesn't treat you as a fucking moron in this movie.
Right.
We know what vampires are. We know they have magical powers. We get it. Like, we accept anything that happens.
Right. So they pull out a bottle of something. We know it's blood, whatever.
Right.
They just don't ever say. And Star tells Michael that it's blood. They don't say, but she says, I don't know how to explain it.
Well, later on in the movie, they do say that it's David's blood.
Right.
It's David's blood in the bottle.
And she says that he doesn't have to drink it, but he's got to be cool, so he does it anyway. And please explain to me this scene where we get this weird overlay of Jim Morrison and Michael.
Okay, so the thing is, like, I should probably explain, you know, Jim Morrison of The Doors. Everybody knows The Doors.
Yes.
Jim Morrison, everybody knows that. People Are Strange was actually a song by The Doors, but it's covered by Echo and the Bunnymen in this movie.
Okay.
Now, Jim Morrison, like, was obsessed with death. Like, if you read his lyrics and stuff,
yeah.
he's obsessed with death. And especially, I mean, Michael looks like Jim Morrison. In this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that too. But basically, Morrison relates to the Lost Boys because of death. Like, if you want to look at it that way.
Death.
So first off, this scene, though, this whole scene where he's drinking the blood and they're running around doing stuff, it's so well done. But at the same time, like, it's like a music video.
Yeah, I agree. I
it's
agree.
it's like a 80s music video. And they have David lit in that light like he's some kind of dark god and stuff. And I love how they light him in the scene where he's handing off the worms and the maggots and stuff like that. He's like, it's just rice. How could a million Chinese people be wrong, Michael? I love that line. I don't know why. But then, like I said, there's that sequence. There's this whole, I'm going to say sequence so many fucking times in this movie. You know, I try so hard not to sound like a film student, but it bleeds through, people. It bleeds through. But there's so many things happening in this shot.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many things, and we're not even going through all of them. I mean, they're pushing around David in a wheelchair, and like they're just, he's drinking blood.
I guess I didn't catch that.
You didn't catch it, but it's all happening in one shot. That's what's cool. It is very hard to explain. For some of you, not amateur. I don't like to say amateur filmmakers because if you're making a movie, you're a filmmaker.
Right.
But for some of you out there who are trying to figure out, you know, how do I make my worms squirm and stuff? Because if you just look at a pile of worms, they don't really do much.
Right.
You squeeze lemon on them. Like that's what Schumacher said. He was like, you squeeze a little lemon, they start moving real fast.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So, and that's what I love about Schumacher's commentaries. You guys have got to listen to Joel Schumacher's commentaries on these DVDs and Blu-rays because, like, he loves, yes, he loves explaining how things work.
That's awesome.
And stuff.
So they drive to a bridge and they're hanging from it. The Lost Boys are.
Yeah.
A train comes and Michael is struggling to hang on as this is like shaking. They all like start to let go, but you can hear them and they're laughing and they're having a good time. So obviously they're not dying.
No.
And David tells Michael to let go. And finally, after a long time, he does finally let go. And then he realizes that he can fly. Which
is cool. Well, by the way, you know, we explained how they don't show the vampires really flying too much in this movie. I think you get, at the very end of the movie, you get like a little glimpse of when they're fighting.
Right.
And stuff like that. But the way they do it, it's so stylized and it's so not cheesy. I don't know how they got away with this, but it does. It works.
Because they didn't really show it even in this scene.
Right.
I feel like,
but you get the feeling of it,
right?
And that's another thing. That's what I mean by Joel Schumacher does not treat you like a fucking moron.
Right? He's like, I know you know they
like
can fly.
You know what's happening in the scene. I don't have to explain it to you. You get it, and I love that about him. And that's what Schumacher was always about. You know, like I'm just trying to entertain you. I'm not trying to treat you like a fucking moron. Right. Like, so I know you're smart. So here's your movie, you know. But Kiefer Sutherland, son of Donald Sutherland, was 17 when he did this movie, but he told everybody he was 18. Now, Kiefer had been in Stand By Me with Corey Feldman, actually. So this is technically their second movie together.
Nice.
Even though they don't have any scenes together, if you notice that. There's a slight scene, but they don't ever interact at all.
Right.
But what you'll notice is Kiefer has less lines than any of the other main characters in this entire movie, but more lines than the other vampires.
Right.
So it's funny. And I feel like David is one of those vampire characters that everyone will remember, like Dracula, like Jerry Dandridge from Fright Night, and all the icons of vampirism. You know, David is just that cult. He's embedded in pop culture now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, this is like the punk rock vampire.
I agree.
Yeah, this is what you see. And but Kiefer, you know, he was son of Donald Sutherland, which we will cover on this show. We'll get to a Donald Sutherland movie. But he wasn't the only one from acting royalty. Now, Jason Patric is related to Jackie Gleason, a famous comedian, and his father, Jason Miller, played Father Karras in The Exorcist.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, Sutherland wasn't on board immediately. In fact, the idea for David was to have Jim Carrey play.
What?
Yes.
No, that's no.
Yeah, I'm not saying we almost got Jim Carrey in The Lost Boys, but it was an idea kicked around.
That was no.
It was knocked around a bit because Jim Carrey had just played a vampire in the comedy horror movie Once Bitten.
Okay, that's a comedy though.
Oh, it's a straight comedy. Let's not even kick around the bush. It's not comedy horror. It's just a comedy. Like,
yeah, no, that wouldn't be good.
yeah, like luckily that didn't happen, and Sutherland signed on when he heard Schumacher was having INXS do some songs for the soundtrack. This wasn't the only reason, obviously, that Keith Sutherland signed up, but it helped as Keith had spent like a summer in Australia and he had become a fan of INXS's music. Do you know much about any of the bands in this movie?
Jim Moore or The Doors.
Yeah, which the Doors aren't even on the soundtrack if you think
Right.
about it. Like it's Echo and the Bunnymen, and Echo and the Bunnymen do that one song.
Not ringing a bell in my head.
Nothing.
Nothing. You can stop now.
Okay, sorry. I was hoping you'd be like, oh, that song. Oh, this is why we're doing a music podcast at a later time. Yes. I should probably let that rip, huh? We're doing later this year, at least mid this year, we're doing a music podcast, which is basically it's going to be great. We're just going to be sitting down, listening to music, chatting in between tracks and stuff like that. It'll be great. But anyway, that's for later. But but the Doors don't even appear on the soundtrack. But like, you have like the lead singer of Foreigner doing a track in the Shadows.
I saw Foreigner in concert.
You did?
I did.
Well, the lead singer does that track when they're riding the motorcycles.
Oh, okay.
Lost in the shadows.
Okay.
She's just staring at me, people. Anyway. I really hope you guys enjoy our cringe humor. But anyway, yeah, so like obviously Keith Sutherland didn't just choose this because of the music, but like it helped a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Because you got to remember he was 17 at the time.
Yes. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
It's funny to think about, but everyone in this movie was a baby.
Oh, yeah.
Like everyone in this movie is so fucking young. I mean, Diane Wiest herself is like 30 something. Like, it's so funny.
So the next day, Michael's at home and his mom is worried about him because, well, I don't know if it's the next day. I'm sorry. Michael's at home and his mom is worried about him because he has been staying out all night and sleeping all day, but she asked him to stay at home with Sam that night so she can go on a date with Max.
Which, you know, some people have complained that the mom in this movie is very annoying.
I think she's just a mom.
I don't find her. Yeah, I don't find her that way. I find her separated from the story that's going on until the very end.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like she's just being a mom. Like,
yeah, that's how I feel
like
too.
there's even a scene later on where she's like, are we still friends?
Right.
Like, why don't we be friends and talk?
Right.
Because Michael looks like he's on drugs. Like, it looks like he might have dabbled in some cocaine.
He's just wearing sunglasses
like
all the time.
maybe he's hanging out with Corey Feldman. I don't know. But what's nice about this movie is they deploy the normal tried and true lore of the vampire. You know, they don't really add much to it, and it also it makes it feel fresh though. That's the funny part, because I mean we have covered Dracula, we have covered From Dusk Till Dawn, even though From Dusk Till Dawn was 96, so that was years later.
Right.
But we've covered Fright Night and stuff, which Fright Night is your stereotypical 80s vampire movie,
Right.
You know? But this movie just feels separated from all of them.
I agree.
You know?
I really do agree.
It's got its own feel. But all the vampires in this movie stick to that stereotypical lore. You know?
Right.
I mean, there's nothing new here.
Right.
But anyway, Except maybe the fact that you don't become a full vampire until you've made a kill. I don't know if that's new here.
I don't know.
Again, I'm not an expert in vampires. Maybe I'm kind of rusty on my vampire lore. But I used to have this giant book on vampires, which I'd love to find. I think it's somewhere in this fucking house full of my shit.
It's probably in your closet.
It probably is. I have a closet that is stacked to the ceiling with shit.
Maybe Jason Patrick is in there. And that's why I can't get the door open.
I don't know if I would be turned on if I opened the door and Jason Patrick was in there. I think I would be very scared.
I wouldn't.
Like, first of all, why are you in my closet? Second of all, who are you hiding from? Because why are you in Oklahoma? Because you're a successful actor, even though you haven't been in much that we've seen. But anyway, you don't have. But what I love about The Lost Boys is you really don't have to have a scene that goes on way too long about what a vampire is.
Right.
Like Fright Night kind of does that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
From Dusk Till Dawn sort of does that a little bit. In all these vampires after Dracula and stuff, there's always these long scenes about what a vampire is. Like no one has ever heard of a vampire in these fucking movies. And so that's what we get. But you don't get it in this movie.
We don't need it.
Yeah, but unless you count, the scenes with the Frog Brothers where they're explaining to Sam,
But I feel like they need to explain it to Sam because he doesn't know anything about them. So
yeah, and therefore that's another thing where Schumacher's not treating us as idiots.
Right.
He's like, no, I'm not telling you. I'm telling the character. But anyway.
So it's night now, and Grandpa's going on a date. The Lost Boys show up on their motorcycles, but when Michael opens the door, they aren't actually there.
Do you think?
No, I don't know how.
Do you think that Windex would really work as an aftershave?
No.
Because
I didn't think you were going to ask that question.
Because Grandpa throws on some Windex for an aftershave to go see the Widow Johnson.
I mean, I guess if she likes clean things, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, all right.
That's weird. Okay,
Just
anyway.
thinking, I mean, maybe.
No,
maybe
you're not putting aftershave
throw
on.
on some good old aftershave. Anyway,
You don't even shave.
I don't.
And
Well, neither does Grandpa. He's got a little 5 o'clock shadow the entire movie.
I just thought of something very weird though. I was like thinking you don't shave, and I was like, except for your balls. And what if you put Windex on your balls? That might burn a little bit.
I do shave my balls. They're like 2 eggs down there.
Oh my god.
I'm sure our listeners wanted to know that. So,
Oh,
I could just see our
my.
listeners right now. Oh, good. Oh, good. Now I know he shaves his
That's
balls.
what I need
That's
to
what I.
know.
I tuned in to listen to The Lost Boys, and now I know one of the hosts shaves his nutsack. This is
Well,
amazing.
I don't shave my nutsack, so
Brittany has a nutsack. I mean, I guess you could. I'd gargle your balls, baby. I'd gargle your balls for you.
Oh, anyway. So then Michael starts to get these pains because he needs blood. The dog ends up jumping on him because he almost goes after Sam to get blood.
Yeah.
Sam notices that Michael does not have a reflection here, and Sam is pissed because he knows now that Michael is a vampire.
Again, you inferred that all from this movie. No one had to explain it to you, and
Right.
Schumacher did not treat you as a fucking moron.
Right.
Thank you, Schumacher.
Thank you.
One thing this movie does benefit from is it came out around the same time MTV popped into pop culture.
Right.
Like this whole movie feels like a fucking music video.
Right.
Like,
And even Sam at the beginning, he's like, there's no TVs here. There's no TVs here. He's like, you know what that means, Michael? And he's like, no MTV.
and I love Grandpa.
What was that laugh?
I don't know what the fuck that was, but I love Grandpa because he's like, because he's on all on this rant about his TV guides. He's like, don't peel the sticker off because it'll rip the cover, and I don't like it when it tears the cover. And they're like, so you got a TV? He's like, no, I just like to read the TV guide. You read the TV guide, you don't have to have a TV.
And to me, Sam is this perfect like example of like a preppy
Oh yeah.
80s kid.
Because they even mentioned that. The Frog Brothers mentioned that. You know,
Yeah.
if you're looking for the yogurt stand, it went out of business.
Because he wears these bright shirts with these bright colors on them. He reminds me of Zach from Saved by the Bell.
Yes. Sam's wardrobe, Corey Haim's wardrobe in this movie is so great. Like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
like these, he wears these bathrobes that are like this art. Like he's wearing art through the entire movie. He wears, when he first meets the Frog Brothers, he wears this long overcoat thing.
Oh, I guess I didn't catch that.
Yeah, like I'm like, that is cool as shit, but you would have to be Corey Haim's size to pull that off.
Oh yeah. Oh
Like
yeah.
you couldn't see like me, a chubby dude wearing one. I'd look ridiculous.
I agree. So Sam ends up calling the Frog Brothers, and they tell him that he needs to kill his brother with a stake, and he absolutely refuses. So they tell him to get a garlic shirt, and I was like a necklace.
Which he kind of does later when he gets in bed with his mom.
Oh
He has that
yes.
she's like, what does that smell?
And she's like, "Did you have some pizza?" And he goes to take his robe off, and then he's like, "Oh shit, yeah, I got this garlic on it. Put my robe back on." And then Michael starts floating like to the ceiling,
Yes.
but he has no control over it.
Yeah, which is really well done. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know, it's really seamless, and I'm sure they did it on the same thing. Like, you know, we talked about how you're rotating sets and stuff, and Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that. I'm sure they did it that way. You know,
Right.
Film it a certain way, and you can pull something really off. Which I love the practical effects in this movie. Sam is played, of course, by Corey Haim. Now, Haim had been in a really great film called Lucas not long before this, which is a great movie. And that's what kind of put him on Schumacher's radar. Now, he's no stranger to horror, as prior to this, he also appeared in Silver Bullet, the Stephen King movie about werewolves, where he battles a werewolf in a wheelchair. Now... We'll cover that on this show at one point. Haim does a really good job in this flick, and actually a lot of the comedic moments that really land come from Corey Haim.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's great in this. And
I love. Sorry, there's a scene coming up where Star comes, and I love when he's like hiding under this blanket, and he's like answering all the questions.
Don't tell me it doesn't make her a bad person. Yeah, he does a great job. As I said, this was the first film the two Coreys would appear in together, and it would lead to a long-time friendship, coupled with 7 movies together,
Oh
and
wow.
a reality television series. The Lost Boys made Corey Haim a household name and a teen heartthrob. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about when you were a teenager, Corey Haim probably would, he would have done it for you,
No.
right? No,
Jason Patrick.
really,
Oh yeah.
really. Well,
Oh yeah.
Corey Haim was a teen heartthrob. In fact, my sister had posters of Corey Haim on her walls.
Not Keith Sutherland.
Oh no, she had Keith Sutherland. It was a mix. It was a mix. It was Keith Sutherland, Corey Haim, and she had that Jim Morrison poster. That's the funny part.
Everybody had that Jim Morrison.
Everybody
I bought
had.
that Jim Morrison painting.
Oh my God, everybody had that thing. I had it. I didn't care much for the Doors. But anyway, I cared for Jim Morrison. But
Wait, what?
nothing.
I
Well,
did not catch
let's
that.
move on. But like I said, it made him a household name. And one thing that always gets me in trouble with movie fans is an opinion I hold. To me, Corey Feldman got more of the roles. In fact, he and Haim both auditioned for the role of Mouth in The Goonies. But I've always felt like Corey Haim was the much better actor.
Dun dun dun.
Yes, I just feel like he's a much better actor. And we sadly lost Haim in 2010 to health complications involving his heart, from what I've learned. It's a very confusing case.
I thought he overdosed.
Well, that was the general consensus, since he had been like going around like kind of scamming doctors out of medications
really?
and stuff like that. But the toxicology said that wasn't the leading cause of death. It was just a problem with his heart.
Oh, okay.
So who knows? Who knows if drugs led to that? I don't know. I don't want to shame somebody. But to me, Corey Haim was the better actor.
Oh, dun dun dun.
But I really enjoy the films he's left us, you know. Now, one thing I'm not going to go into, like we said, is the abuse, the alleged abuse, and mostly because it all comes from secondary sources and not from Corey Haim himself.
Oh, right.
I'm sure it happened because, I mean, Hollywood at the time and Hollywood as we know now, it's not a great place for kids.
Right.
And so that probably did happen, but I don't want to go into it.
I understand. So Lucy calls to check on the boys, and Sam starts freaking out, thinking Michael's going to kill him. So she rushes home. Michael convinced Sam that he needs his help and not to tell Mom. So Lucy gets home and Sam ends up covering for him. Michael goes to look for Star in the cave, and he asks her what's going on, and she says she can't tell him, but they do end up having sex.
Thou shalt not fall. I'm sorry. The soundtrack's great.
I want to know, okay.
Okay.
So through this whole movie,
Yeah.
when you see Star, most of the time you see Laddie,
Yes.
which is this little boy. And I don't really go into this, but Laddie, he's missing. It's like on a milk carton.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you see it when Lucy, their mom, puts it down on the counter. You see
Right.
the missing.
So you know Laddie is like a missing kid
Yeah.
or whatever. And he's with the Lost Boys. So where was Laddie when they were having sex?
Oh, he was in the next room like everybody. Like everybody's kids. You send them off, you know.
Go away, Laddie.
and plus, like, Laddie is obviously just a companion that they turned for Star, you know.
Oh.
And that's an important plot point, is that Star and Laddie hasn't killed anybody, so they're only half vampire.
Right.
You know. But as Schumacher puts it in his commentary to this film, filming scenes of two beautiful people making out isn't the worst job in the world.
Oh, he got a little chubby chub.
And here's the thing. I know this sex scene might not feel as necessary to people.
Oh, yes, it was.
Yeah, yes, it was. But as I've defended before, a well-placed, sensual, and consensual sex scene between two characters in a movie can really do wonders to bridging a gap of emotions that would otherwise have to be built by like scene after scene of way too much dialogue.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And you know, it's really funny because like you'll talk to people.
I know where this is going.
Yeah. You'll talk to people and they'll be like, oh, I don't like sex scenes in a movie. It's terrible.
Right.
It's terrible. Sex scenes aren't necessary. Sex scenes aren't needed and stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. But these same people are like, when you bring up a rape scene in a movie,
Fucking defending it.
well, that's real life. I mean, that's the horrors of real life. So that deserves to be in a movie. That shows off. And I'm like, well, in real life, people have sex.
Right.
Like, and if you're making an hour and 42-minute movie, you might not want to have scene after scene of them explaining how they feel together and just have them have sex.
Right.
Everybody understands sex. Everybody gets it. There you go.
And sex sells. I
Yes.
mean,
And it just confuses me how we're very comfortable, while some people are very comfortable with our rape scenes, and how, oh my God, rape scenes, they add to the plot. It adds to the plot. And I've defended rape scenes in the past before.
Right.
You know, when we've done I Spit on Your Grave. I've defended rape scenes, but at the same time, I'm like, sex scenes are very important.
Right.
Like, in some movies, it is very necessary to have a sex scene. Like this movie.
Right.
Do you want more scenes of how they're explaining how they feel to each other?
No, I'll have the sex scene and get
Because
it over
after
with.
the scene, it's over.
Right.
You know they love each other. They don't have to explain it. They don't have to talk on it.
Right.
They feel for each other. They're there. It's
Right.
fine.
Uh-huh.
So what's your fucking problem? And I feel like that's a societal thing, you know? And it's really fucked up.
It's really
because
fucked up.
some women defend this kind of shit. They'll defend
Yes.
rape scenes over sex scenes, over consensual sex scenes.
Consent is sexy.
Because a rape scene is considered more powerful than a sex scene.
Sex is just
why
so...
why are we tying women who are having sex consensually?
Oh,
as a
because
bad
women
thing?
are not allowed to enjoy sex.
Yes. Why is that a bad thing? But rape isn't as bad, and that is fucking disturbing.
It is.
And I'll leave you guys to ponder that and talk to your spouses about that shit. But anyway, but yeah, this sex scene does build on the fact that Michael will seemingly die for her in the climax. It helps the film.
In the climax.
Plus, it's Jamie Gertz and Jason Patrick in a love scene.
Who would not want to see
Who
that?
would decline that?
Right?
I don't even think Jamie Gertz and Jason Patrick decline this.
Right? They were like, oh, yeah, we get to...
Oh,
What?
yes. Yes. Where did this
I
went
don't
off the
know.
roll? Anyway, back to Lost Boys.
So Lucy goes to see Max and take him some wine since she bailed on their date.
Yeah.
When she goes inside the gate to Max's house, Max's dog freaks out and tries to attack her. Then Sam goes to see the Frog Brothers and they tell him to kill his brother or they are going to have to. He says they need to kill the head vampire and that Michael is only half vampire. They infer that Max is the head vampire because none of this started until Lucy started working there at the video store.
Yeah.
And they talk about the dogs and Hounds of Hell, and the brothers say that they will check Max out. They seriously, this is the only scene I did not agree with in this movie.
Okay.
Is because they seriously were like, he was like, oh, no, my mom's dating this guy, and he only works at night. So, and his dog tried to attack my mom, so that means he's a head vampire and we have to kill him.
Well, you know, I mean, they try to throw you off of Max.
I get that, but
And
like,
if you're seeing this movie fresh, you know, never seen it before, like you. I mean, you saw this movie fresh. Did you think Max was the head vampire?
no.
Yeah, because they do their best to throw you off. I mean, there's even a scene, and we didn't really touch on it, but there's a scene where, like, the Lost Boys come and see Max and stuff, and they're kind of terrorizing him a little bit. You think, you know, they're just harassing him because he keeps, like, warding them off of his video store and stuff like that.
Right.
But, like, it's a red herring because, like, obviously we know the ending to this movie. Everybody knows the ending of this movie. Max is
Right.
the head vampire. He turns out to be. But they try to throw you off of it.
But it's just really weird because I don't see like how just because Max works at night and his dog tried to attack his mom, how does that just make him a vampire all of a sudden?
Well, the thing was, like, if you're noticing throughout this movie, the comic book plays a big part in it. You know, it's kind of like a guide.
Right.
And everything that the comic book is explaining is happening in the movie. So going by that comic book, they would infer naturally that Max would be the head vampire because he has a Hound of Hell, you know, stuff guarding Max as he sleeps during the daytime and stuff.
But
You only see Max during the night and stuff like so. Naturally, these kids, remember, they're kids, would assume that Max is the head vampire.
the head vampire could have been anybody. Like
It's true.
it could have been someone they didn't know.
But also, you also got to remember that that Sam doesn't know who David is. You know, they
Right,
don't
right.
know these Lost Boys and stuff like that.
But they also just picked somebody randomly. Like it was so random to me that it could have just been anybody that they didn't even know.
And maybe, maybe that's part of a thing, Max is moving in on his mom.
Right, that's
so
what
maybe that plays into it too.
Right. I'm like, just really like, you just thought about that at the top of your head, like, oh, how all these people that I might know. I don't know.
And what's funny about the Frog Brothers is, like I said, they're right the entire time as we come to find out.
Right.
Even though they are a huge comic relief of this movie. Now, the Frog Brothers comic shop, Atlantis Fantasy World, was a real comic shop owned by Joe Ferrara II. This location, along with the bandstand where Saxman is serenading everybody early in the film, that was all destroyed by an earthquake.
Oh.
So the comic shop moved to another location, but it's still there. You can go to Santa Cruz and see this comic shop, and it's owned by the same guy. In fact, it's still opened, owned by Joe this day. And from what I hear, you can go have your picture taken with the vampire comic depicted in this movie.
Dun, dun, dun.
And Joe keeps it behind glass and has it signed by the entire cast of this movie. And he lets you do it for free.
Nice.
Let you take a picture with it for free.
Nice.
But back to the boardwalk for a sec. I fucking love boardwalks. Have you ever been to a boardwalk?
No.
No?
Not
Oh
one
my
time.
God, they're so fun. I went to California years ago when I was, it was like a senior trip,
Mhm.
and we went to the boardwalk, and it was so much fun. It's just like this. They had a roller coaster. They had the merry-go-round. They had like an arcade and stuff. And it was so much fun. And we got to eat like this fish place off. And if you're from a landlocked state like we are,
Yeah.
Oklahoma, fresh fish is such a treat. Like,
Yes.
like when you get to have some fresh swordfish steaks, like, oh my God, you have not lived.
We have frozen tilapia,
We have shrimp,
frozen shrimp.
frozen shrimp. Everything in Oklahoma, you guys, is frozen except for the steak.
Oh, and that's still frozen.
Yeah, that's most of the time frozen, unless you get it yourself from the butcher. It's just.
Oklahoma sucks.
Yeah, but but I love the boardwalk.
The only experience I have with boardwalks, and you're really gonna laugh at me on this one, is from Jersey Shore.
And you didn't even go to the Jersey Shore; you're just watching.
I just watched the TV show.
But it's just like what you see in the movies. It's so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's so great. And I know people who live in these states are probably like, God, the boardwalk is so gross. But you guys, try coming living in Oklahoma.
It's pretty gross.
Yeah. I saw a bum getting a blowjob by another bum the other day. It's not great.
Oh my
Like, it's not
gosh.
awesome.
I was telling you about the house that I was working at.
Uh-huh.
The most interesting thing that happened with my day was watching a car. I don't know if it was broke down or they just parked in front of this apartment complex. I don't fucking know. And a cop comes and then a tow truck comes. And then they have to shoo away this stray dog. Because in this neighborhood, for some reason, there's so many fucking stray dogs. I saw at least 5 today that I'd never seen before.
The only thing Oklahoma has going for it, and Tulsa in general, Tulsa has going for it, is the amount of genre film fans. There are so many genre film fans in this fucking town that it is not even funny. When Joe Bob Briggs from The Last Drive-In came to Tulsa, he was shocked by how many genre film fans showed up and knew what he was talking about.
Right.
Like, that's the thing. And that's the thing about, Tulsa, Oklahoma, is we're such a boring place
So boring.
that genre film is so enticing to us that you'll find so many people like me in this state.
Right.
There are other people who are so obsessed with shit, just like me, and it's hilarious.
There's nothing to do here except for meth and make babies.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fucking going on. We have a few sex clubs and shit like that. So
Oh,
there's those.
I did. Remind me to tell you about Sin.
I heard about Sin.
Okay, so but on the radio the other day, this guy was like, "It was my birthday weekend," and he's like, "And I went to Club Sin," and I was like, "Oh my god, I know where the fuck this is going." And they were like, the hosts were like, "What the fuck is Club Sin?" Right? And he was like, well, you pay this cover and you go in, and it's just this open room with a bunch of beds. What the fuck?
I'm sorry.
What the fuck?
I'm sorry. We're in pandemic times. You should not be going to a place where everybody's
And they
gathered
had to
together
pay
fucking.
$40.
And I'll tell you this, guys. This sounds exciting. This sounds very dirty
No.
and exciting, but
No.
you got to remember the kind of people who go to these places.
Yeah, no.
They're
I
not
ain't
the
doing
people you want to have sex with or you want to
Well,
see
watch
having
them have
sex.
Yes.
Um,
No.
Oh my God. Anyway.
I'm not paying $40 to go sit on a nasty, crusty bed.
And have a fat guy trying to fuck you in the corner.
Ugh.
Anyway, let's get back to the Lost Boys.
Someone better pay me $40. Can I get $40 tonight when you try to fuck me?
Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be better. I mean, at least I'm hot. Anyway, let's go on. Back to the Lost Boys. Don't drive your car off a cliff, please.
Sorry. So it's nighttime, and Lucy's having Max over for dinner. Michael is leaving as Max is getting there, and Max asks to be invited in.
Bum,
Dun,
bum,
dun,
bum.
Sam also invited the Frog Brothers over for dinner, so they offer him cheese, and Sam has put garlic in it.
Yeah, it's all garlic.
This is so funny. So then they throw water on him, holy water, I assume.
Yeah.
They turn off all the lights and put a mirror in his face, and they can see his reflection. And Max says that he knows what Sam's doing. And he's like, I'm not trying to replace your father.
Yeah. Now, the part where Alan, played by Jamie Newlander, puts out the candles with his fingers actually burnt the actor's hands really bad.
Dumbass.
Because no one explained to him, because you got to remember, these are kids. No one explained to him that you have to wet your fingers before snuffing out a flame.
Oh, no.
Which, by the way, people, if you don't know that now, that you have to wet your finger. You lick your fingers before you touch the wick to put out a candle. You don't just grab it. As cool as it looks in a movie, you don't do that. But so that caused him to have to like soak his hands in between takes because he fucked him up bad. Here's a little bit of trivia that's just kind of like off the wall, but Max was almost played by Fred Gwynn, who we know from Pet Sematary as Judd.
Oh my God. That would have been weird.
I'm not trying to replace your father now.
Oh my God.
Not Fred Gwynn didn't talk like that. He was a very well-spoken individual, but it's just really funny. But also what's really funny, and I'm glad they went with Ed Herman, you know, but both actors actually played Herman Munster in the Munsters. Fred in the original series, and Ed in the remake years later, and that remake is so awesome, but it's sort of hard to find. I'm on the hunt for it because I love that remake because I got to witness it. But what's funny about the start of this dinner scene is Max makes a joke that doesn't make sense until you find out that he's the head vampire later. Spoilers, by the way. But he says, "Is it unlucky to see the food before the wedding?" And Lucy is like, "Oh, I think you're thinking about the bride." And Max says he always gets those two confused.
I know. I was like, what?
Yeah. And if you're first watching this movie, you're like, what? What is that? And then at the end, you're like, oh, he's calling her food. It's great.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I got
yeah,
you.
it's amazing. Now, I don't know why that joke lands so well with me.
So Michael goes to the boardwalk and he's looking for Star. David says that if he ever wants to see her again, then he needs to go with them. They go to a beach and watch these surfer Nazis. That's what they call them.
Yeah, which, by the way, you don't really hear it in the movie, but they do get called surfer Nazis in the subtitles.
Right.
And I'll talk about that in a second.
I love, sidebar, I love the subtitles in most movies, well, especially like this one if they're really well done, because they tell me who's talking. Like, obviously, I
Yes.
can see who's talking, but they give me the name.
Yes.
And like, they said like surfer Nazis dancing.
Which is very important. You know, there's a lot of people who are hearing impaired,
Right.
you know, and so like these subtitles are very important that they're well done.
Yes.
So it kind of pisses me off when you get a movie that's like, oh no, we're not putting subtitles
This
on this
is-
shit.
Right. This is the only that's the only thing that bothers me about Shudder is their subtitles are not written by a person, they are written by a computer, and you could tell because you know when you talk to text to
Yeah.
somebody and it's all garbled because
Right,
the
right.
computer doesn't compute what you're saying, or the phone. That's how Shudder subtitles are, and it pisses me off.
Yes, I think more movies need to take people in consideration that are visually impaired.
Yes.
You know, I feel like more movies need to integrate to that because, like, the visually impaired, I mean, think about it. Like, you know, there's some people that watch these movies that love these movies.
Mhm.
We have a huge fan that loves these movies that actually subscribes to our Patreon.
Mhm.
Christina, and she loves these movies, but she's visually impaired. So like, I feel like movies need to more cater to that as well. You know, the people who
Oh,
are
I
visually
agree.
impaired but can still watch these.
Right.
And that's Christina Arntz. She has her own YouTube channel. You guys should go check that out. She does a lot of unboxing videos.
Oh,
and,
nice.
and she does a lot of commentaries and stuff and reviews. She does movie reviews, and she's a great.
Oh, I know
long-term
who you're
fan.
talking about. Yeah.
Long-term fan of us.
So David tells Michael it's time to join the club, and they all transform into their like vampire forms and start attacking the surfer Nazis. Can I say Nazi?
You can.
Okay, because
It's fine. I'll explain what that term means in a minute.
Okay, so Michael watches and he is freaked the fuck out, and David tells him that he won't ever grow old, but he will have to feed.
Yes. And this is also that scene where, like, I mentioned, you know, that slaughter scene where, like, you get little, like, bursts of gore and stuff.
Right.
And the rest is up to your mind. And it really makes this scene like, oh, God.
Right.
Because they're throwing people in the fire, biting into people's heads and shit. So one term, though, that confused you was in the subtitles, like what you mentioned, that they labeled this group as surf Nazis. Now, that's a term given to surfers who basically breathe, eat, shit, and sleep surfing, and they guarded their territory very fiercely. Surfer culture is a whole thing. Like, you don't go to someone's territory to surf. That's someone's area.
right,
You don't
right.
go over there and stuff like that. And it was more back in the day and stuff like that. It's not a term tossed around much anymore because obviously the fact that labeling someone a Nazi is a pretty loaded term these days. So people kind of refrain from calling them surf Nazis. So here we have our vampires revealing their true forms, which, which was a very early form of prosthetics involving life casts and layers of foam latex, which was top of the line at the time, and then the Pax paint, applied over to blend it in with the actors' faces. Greg Canham did the effects here. And he did the makeup for some of horror's best movies, from Michael Jackson's Thrillers to Blade to Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which is a movie that's better than it deserves to be. He even did stuff on Batman Returns, The Mask, starring Jim Carrey, which Jim Carrey has come up in this episode way too many times. Now, Schumacher was insistent that he wanted these vampires to still be sexy when they turned. He didn't want all-out monsters, He was like, I have this sexy cast. Let's
need
keep
them to
them
be
sexy. Yeah. So it was kind of a challenge here. But the cast handled the prosthetics really well. In fact, Keith Sutherland was like, man, we had so much baby fat at this time. He was like, I didn't know how this was going to go over. He was like, I didn't know how the prosthetics were going to be, but they do such a fucking great job. Greg Canham does such a great job here at keeping the contours of their face aligned and stuff like that.
Right.
And they're sexy vampires.
Sure. I don't think the Lost Boys are sexy.
I understand. They're not
I
your
mean-
type of gentleman.
I mean, Michael, yes, but
Yes, yeah, I understand.
but
I
yes,
understand.
they were.
Yes. But compare them to Twilight.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where nothing changed. And it's just like, hey, these are vampires. Can we do something? Oh, no, they sparkle. They sparkle in the sunlight.
I love glitter as much as the next girl, but fuck that.
Oh, my fucking God. I know.
So Sam wakes up in the middle of the night and Michael is there and says that he knows what he is now. And Sam says that he can help him, but he needs to know who the head vampire is.
Yeah.
Star shows up and she's visibly upset, but doesn't really say why.
Yeah.
But she tells Michael that she isn't like David and they aren't until they make their first kill.
Right.
She says that David wants her to kill Michael, but she just couldn't. She says that she is weak, though, and she wants Michael to help her and Laddie, and he just kind of laughs in her face, and she flies away.
Yeah, because he feels like, like she led him on just to get into this little coven kind of thing going on. Now, what's interesting about Star and Laddie is that they are both half vampires because they haven't made their first kill, like she says. Now, Star is the only vampire that doesn't have a transformation. Now, one thing that we haven't really, we've kind of touched on, but it's the music in this movie. And it's a fucking fantastic soundtrack that includes NXS, Run DMC. But Thomas Newman also wrote an amazing score in this movie that fits seamlessly between the 80s rock. Now, the main theme is what really sticks out. And I'm talking, of course, of Cry Little Sister by Gerard McMahon. You know that song. Like, Cry Little Sister, thou shalt not fall. Wow, that was shitty. But we all know this song with the heavy drum beat and the orchestral keyboards, plus those really creepy choir vocals, Now, while it seems this song, like a few others on the soundtrack, was made specifically for the Lost Boys, it was, but it was also a song that McMahon had composed before he even saw the script or a shred of footage of the movie. He just got told, you're making a song for a vampire movie.
Oh,
and this is where he went with. That's why the lyrics actually don't mention vampires at all, but it fits as the song is about longing for family and a rejected youth perspectives,
Right.
Joel Schumacher was shocked as he felt it nailed what he was looking for in a theme, and without McMahon even exposed to the completed movie. And I gotta say, this song does fucking fit.
I agree.
And years later, like, McMahon would do a dance club version. And I don't know if anybody knows about this, but one of our fans brought it up. But man, that thing is cool. Like he speeds it up in a few parts.
Is that the one that you sent me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He adds guitars and a few things. It's pretty cool. It's like an updated version.
So Sam calls the Frog Brothers for reinforcement. They all end up taking Grandpa's car and drive to the cave. Michael is getting weaker and can't even really walk. Star is there and she wants him to take Laddie first to the car. The Frog Brothers are very eager to find the Lost Boys. But it's daytime outside, so they know that the Lost Boys are sleeping. They find them hanging upside down sleeping, and they stake one of them in the heart, and all hell breaks loose.
Now, this vampire, or as the Frog Brothers put it, the first come, first staked. This is Marco. Now, Marco is played by the ever-talented Alex Winter, who actually retired from acting to pursue directing, but left us with a very big body of work. Now, such as, of course, Bill and Ted. The Bill and Ted series, where he played Bill alongside Keanu Reeves as Ted. Now, at the time, Alex had been in a movie before this, Death Wish 3, in fact. So this actually wasn't his first movie, even though the credits do introduce him as Alexander Winter. Alex had also been registered with the Screen Actors Guild. So that's why he appears as Alexander Winter in this, and had to use his full name because that's what he registered with, which was something that annoyed Joel Schumacher because it took too much space in the credits. Schumacher was like, "You have got to shorten your name." And there we go. Now we have Alex Winter.
Alex Winter.
Yes. Now, so the vampire blood in this movie is something unique as well, as it contains glitter mixed with a more like regular, everyday stage blood. Now it gives it that weird shiny look, because it was something they were kicking around. They were like, well, vampire blood should look different. What should we use?
Right.
What should we go with? Should we go with green? But they chose to mix some glitter in with this, and you can really see that when the Frog Brothers exit the cave here and the sun hits them. You can really see that glitter,
like Twilight?
a lot. Yes.
I'm just kidding. It's better than Twilight.
So apparently this caused the fake blood to be much more slimier and slick than normal. Something Corey Haim said was really kind of gross.
Oh. Ugh. Glittery blood. Anyway, so they almost get David to go into the sunlight, but only his hand makes it. Michael has Star and Laddie, and they are all passed out in the car. So Sam is forced to drive this car home, and they make it home. They take Laddie and Star upstairs, and they try to come up with a plan B.
Now, this scene where they're like, Edgar's like, punch it into hyperdrive. He like pushes his foot on the gas and stuff, but Sam is in reverse, and they almost go off this fucking cliff. Now, this was a car full of stunt drivers and stuff like that.
That's good.
And they were attached to a wire. Now, the young kids in this movie, which was Corey Haim and Corey Feldman and stuff like that, they were pissed off. And Joel Schumacher said they even went to as far as say that they agreed to this movie to do this stunt scene.
Oh, no.
But he was like, no, we're not going to kill you. We have stunt people.
Dang it.
So anyway, they used the stunt people. But the shot where David pulls his hand away, as they're trying to get him into the sun, and it catches flame. And then there's this close-up look on his face. When he says tonight, as oh shit. You notice this tear rolls out of his eye and onto his cheek. Now that tear was real, and it was actually caused on accident by the contacts Sutherland was wearing. Those irritated his eye, causing a tear to roll out.
Okay.
Schumacher left it in because it's honestly a really gorgeous shot.
Oh, yeah.
It's an awesome shot. Speaking of contacts, these are the dreaded early contact lenses that were first made for World War II paratroopers to allow them to parachute out without goggles.
Oh, no.
Now, this actually, they were like made of glass, and they're not meant to be worn for long.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they do is they cover the entire eye, and they can be painted and stuff, but they deprive your eye of oxygen.
Oh, no.
So it dries your eye out. So you couldn't do shoots that took more than 3 or 4 minutes.
I just can't imagine.
Yes. And nowadays they do have, more flexible contacts and stuff, and breathable contacts that do this, or they could just CGI in these eyes and stuff like that.
Right.
So things are a little bit better now. But the shot of David's face has been on T-shirts, notebooks. Hell, the other day I saw somebody with a tote bag with this thing on it.
Of course.
So this is an iconic shot, and there's an encyclopedia of vampirism out there that has this on it as well.
Oh, nice. So Sam goes to see his mom and asks her for help, but she doesn't believe him. They go to a church and they get holy water and then leave because they're doing like a baptism and they just come busting
in getting holy water.
They start getting the house ready for a vampire war before dark. They have like this huge bag of like garlic, cloves, or what are those things called?
Garlic cloves, I guess. This is the biggest bag of garlic I've ever seen.
Right? It's like as big as a human.
Who has this much garlic?
They do. They do, apparently. They went to Sam's. Or Costco.
If you guys don't have a Sam's nearby you, it's a bulk store. I don't know. Can you buy this much garlic? I
don't think so.
Good Lord. Just kind of aside from the fact, we were just talking about garlic, but this has nothing to do with that. You can see in the video store scenes, you can see Kelly Jo Minter from The People Under the Stairs. Sorry. A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Popcorn, and much more movies in these scenes. It's odd because she's not much more than a cameo in this movie. But you can, a few of her scenes were actually cut because she does have dialogue and stuff. And maybe that's because she wasn't a huge star yet. But, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, she was there.
That was fucking random.
I know,
I'm so sorry.
So Lucy's at dinner with Max, and she tells him about what Sam said about vampires. At the house, the wind starts to pick up, and the dog starts to freak out, Nanook. Sam goes to check on him, and Michael goes out to get them, and they're like tying up the gate or something. They make it inside in time before they get attacked. Well, you think that. Dun, dun, dun.
That's,
But all the Lost Boys are inside. The Frog Brothers. This is going to go kind of fast. Sorry.
Yeah.
The Frog Brothers are in the bathroom with one of the vampires. And they're about to get like obliterated. But the fucking dog
Nanook
jumps in and pushes this vampire into the bathtub full of holy water.
Yeah, because you see a scene earlier when they're prepping, they fill this bathtub full of holy water and they fill their squirt guns with it. Yes. Now, I love later on at the end, like, because they're like, oh, we just wasted one of them. And they're like, okay, Nanook helped a little
bit. So blood starts to pour out of all the sinks. And one of the vampires grabs Sam, but he sprays it with holy water out of a squirt gun, like you said, and then ends up shooting him with an arrow. He missed, but shoots him again, and he like blows up in this stereo system.
Yeah, it like stakes him to a stereo system, and it like blows him up. And the gore in these final scenes is fucking fantastic.
Oh,
I mean, you have that melting scene where Paul, I believe is the vampire's name, is in the fucking bathtub and he comes up and he's a skeleton and stuff. Yeah. It's so great. And of course, this fantastic scene where one of the vamps gets killed and exploded in what Sam properly calls death by stereo. Now, this scene took a while to film. I believe like a few weeks, even though it's only 30 seconds of footage.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. And test crowds loved it. And Schumacher even said that they were cheering so loud that they missed Corey Haim's joke where he says death by stereo.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So the whole house is being flooded by water and blood. Laddie turns into a vampire and they're going to kill him, but Star stops them. David is beating up Michael, and they start to fight midair. This is the only time you see them fly.
Yeah.
Michael ends up staking David Okay. He uses David to stake.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain because they're fighting throughout this entire thing and they're
Right.
struggling and stuff. And he eventually turns David around and flies him into these antlers.
Right.
That because we didn't mention that Grandpa's into taxidermy this entire
right.
time. And so he has this taxidermy room with all these antlers in it and stuff. And he stakes David onto one of those.
Right. And then he quickly realizes that David was not the head vampire
Yeah,
because he's still a vampire.
still the same. So you may notice David is the only vampire that doesn't explode, disintegrate, or anything when he dies. You know, now he actually has this like kind of touching death scene. No, I don't believe this was done as a sequel link, but it was picked up by the comic series that bridges the 20-year gap between the original and the sequel, where David survives and starts a new tribe. In the comic books, he starts a new tribe and stuff like that, which could have led into ties to the direct-to-video sequel to this movie, which I'll kind of mention later. But it might have also worked into Joel Schumacher's unmade idea for how a spinoff could go. The Lost Girls. You see, Schumacher considered the Lost Boys were all dead. You know, he was like, they all died in this movie. But he said Warner Brothers were eager to continue. So his idea was, and he wouldn't direct this, but he would executive produce it. He was like, a spinoff could have been made that could be like Drew Barrymore or Patricia Arquette as like biker vampire chicks and stuff like that.
Drew Barrymore.
Yeah. And it could have been Lost Girls. And it could have been a ton of fun. You know, another idea he had was to kind of make a prequel, which centered on the earthquake mentioned in this film. You know, where the Lost Boys called home is actually an old sunken hotel because of an earthquake.
Oh, they did talk about that.
Yeah. And it would be set in 1906 and probably tell the story of Max.
Oh.
Which might have been kind of cool. Very confusing, but not as confusing as the tired and lackluster sequels that we did get. That, like I said, work on their own. They're fine. It's just, it feels unnecessary, you know.
A lot of sequels are unnecessary.
These especially. We'll cover them on the show. We have to.
Right. So Max and Lucy come back to the house, and Sam and the Frog Brothers distract Lucy, and then Max sees David dead and apologizes that his boys have misbehaved. He says he basically wanted Lucy to be the mother, them all be vampires together, and he turns into a vampire, and everyone tries to attack him, but he's just too strong.
Yeah.
He's just like pushing them away.
So Greg Canham had admitted that him and Joel Schumacher had clashed a lot during the making of this movie. But even though they had a rocky work relationship, Canham said he loved and respected Schumacher's vision and artistry. So much so that he snuck a little homage to the director himself. And if you look closely at Max when he turns into a vampire, his face doesn't really look like Max. And, you know, we see the Lost Boys. They look pretty much like themselves when they turn.
Oh, yeah.
Still sexy and stuff, like still looking like themselves. But when Max turns, he looks completely different.
I agree.
That's actually Joel Schumacher's face there in Vampire
Oh my
4.
gosh. That's hilarious.
And it's so noticeable that Schumacher saw this himself and was like, hey, Greg, is it just me or does Max kind of look exactly like me?
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So Max is about to bite Lucy when Grandpa drives through the house and Max gets staked and blows up. Everyone is now back to normal, and Grandpa just goes to the fridge, gets a drink, and says that one thing he's always hated about Santa Carla was all the damn vampires.
And I love it. Perfect ending. Now, originally, the movie didn't end on this fantastic joke. It more set up a sequel. But I like this ending. Which, by the way, there is some debate on whether Grandpa was a vampire the whole time as would explain his fascination for animals, as he may be drinking the blood of them, or
oh, I didn't think about
Yeah.
that.
or he just happened to know about the vampires the whole time, was trying to warn everybody here and there, which I kind of go with that one. Or, maybe he was going out at night and killing vampires. Grandpa could have been a vampire hunter the entire time. We didn't know.
I don't think so. I think he was getting laid.
Probably. The Lost Boys opened at number 2 in the box office, ultimately grossing $32 million on its $8 million budget. The Lost Boys helped shift the vampire into popular culture as being more than just an old count or horny middle-aged man preying on your mom. Now they could be youthful and young teens who patrol the boardwalks. Now they could be cool. Much more cool. The Lost Boys is what Twilight wishes it was, as we said. And
that's where they got the sparkly idea.
Yes. And all that is really thanks to the genius of Joel Schumacher, who made this film as it is. Like we said, this could have been a straight up G-rated kiddie film.
Oh, yeah.
But Joel Schumacher sadly passed in 2020, part of the years of teabagging that we got that kept hitting us in 2020. And I say years because it felt like 4 years instead of 1. Openly gay, Schumacher was one of a kind. And even if you didn't like some of his films, Batman and Robin mostly, you couldn't deny that they were a blast and fun as hell. Like even Batman and Robin. That movie's fun.
Right.
I'm sorry, everybody. But this was Schumacher's 4th film, and it ranks up as one of his best. As a director, he didn't treat the audience as a collective bunch of idiots and had respect for us all, only wanting to give us a fun time. One thing he did was love the actors that he worked with. He would say, he said in the commentary of this film, in fact, he was like, a lot of people who work in my genre of work, they don't like actors.
Right.
And he was like, I never understood that, because that'd be like a painter not liking the smell of paint. And he's like, that doesn't make sense to me. So I always wanted to get along with my actors.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and you can tell in this film. I mean, they're having a blast here.
Yes.
They're having a good time. And another thing he did, he's working with a young cast here. He was warm to the young cast on this film, and he protected them against studios and interference as much as he could, as
Right.
much as he had power, while also understanding they were children and a wild set was going to be inevitable in 1987.
Right. Especially with all the cocaine.
Yes. I'm going to miss Schumacher's name in the credits, The Lost Boys stands the test of time and is a comfort movie to a lot of people. One of our listeners even shared that this was his late brother's favorite film before he passed. And every year now he watches it in memory of his brother while eating his brother's favorite snacks and drinks.
Aw.
It's funny, when you stop and think how much movies bring people together.
Right.
How much these horror movies mean to people. And that's what I like to get across in this show. Now, there were 2 straight-to-video sequels, Lost Boys The Tribe and Lost Boys The Thirst. Both are okay in their own right, but as with any sequel, they don't come close to capturing the magic that this one has. And that's because I feel like The Lost Boys belong to the 80s.
Oh, I agree.
Never growing old and living forever. So enough about what I thought about this. Let's get to you. What did you think about 1987's The Lost Boys?
I think that I lived way too long not watching this movie.
Right? I'm very surprised you've never seen this.
Not one time. I don't think I've even seen scenes of it. I don't
Really?
think I even heard of it, which is weird. But
It is weird, actually.
I really liked it a lot. I liked the classic vampire lore mixed with the comedy and just everything it brings to the table, the music, all of it.
Right. It brings so much fresh stuff while at the same time,
Comfort.
yeah, it's a comfort movie.
Yeah.
Like, this is a movie you can flick on during the day or during the night or something. If you're bored, turn on The Lost Boys and you'll have a good time. It's one of those movies that you can put down for years
Yes.
and then come back to, and you're like, oh man, this is so good. It's so much fun. It's so entertaining.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. And okay, one of our listeners said, you know, we've talked about it, how you can tell people's taste in men on their hots for either Keith or Sutherland, Jason Patrick, or Corey Haim. And I gotta ask you, fuck, marry, kill.
Oh my Jesus.
Out of those three.
If I'm married, do I get to fuck them?
Yeah. Don't worry about me.
Okay.
Yeah. Fuck,
Don't
marry,
worry.
kill.
I wasn't worried about you in the first
Oh,
place.
okay, good.
I wasn't thinking about you. I was thinking about fucking, okay? I'm gonna have to kill Corey Haim.
Really? Okay.
He
going.
just not on my radar.
Okay.
This is a hard one. Oh yeah. No, it's not really. I marry Jason Patrick and just fuck Kiefer Sutherland.
Okay, cool.
Even though I'm not attracted to him in that way, but I mean, I'll try anything once. So
I get you. Okay, let's see. All right. Well, that is 1987's The
Wait,
Lost.
you have to answer that question
Oh,
too.
shit. Okay. All right. I'm gonna fuck Keith or Sutherland.
Okay.
I'm gonna marry Corey Haim, and I'm gonna kill Jason Patrick.
It's a competition thing, isn't it?
It's a competition thing.
It's a competition thing, isn't it?
Maybe.
You just want to kill him because
I don't know. I might have to go on a motorcycle ride to prove my love for you. Anyway. So that's 1987's Lost Boys. Next week, we're bringing back, casual horror. We're bringing that back because we
Nice.
have a lot of work to do. But casual horror, we're going to go over some of the best of PG-13 horror because a lot of people have a lot of problems with the rating system on horror movies. And I got to say, the
Why
ratings...
are you saying it like that? You have a problem with the rating system on horror
No,
movies.
I don't. Because some PG-13 movies are very good. Poltergeist, PG-13.
No,
Jaws.
maybe you don't have a problem with the rating system. You have the problem with the censorship.
Oh, I have a huge problem. I think ratings are stupid as shit because I don't think ratings tell how good a movie is.
Right.
So, we'll go over a few of those and also some other horror news and stuff like that. We're going to have a good time. It's going to be a loose conversation about horror movies and stuff like that, as we always do.
Loose.
It's going to be loosey-goosey. Anyway, but...
It just made me think of Righty Tighty Lefty Lucy.
Ew. I don't know why that's ew. Anyway, but that's our show for this week. We hope you enjoyed The Lost Boys. Be sure to check us out on Patreon. You can patreon.com/NOTHP. And what you're going to find on there is monthly episodes. We have our Twin Peaks retrospective, Damn Fine Peaks. We have our hour-long episode on Bruce Campbell, the Campbell Hour, which right now we're covering Ash vs. Evil Dead, so you'll get to hear about that. And we're also doing commentaries, and a lot of other goodies come up on our Patreon feed, which you'll be able to read things, behind-the-scenes stuff. You get to know the entire month's schedule before anyone else.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, you get to know all the episodes that are coming out, so you get to prep for those because a lot of people like to watch these movies
right.
before we cover them, and so you'll get to know the movies. You could watch all the movies in one weekend and then be ready for all the episodes. But anyway, go there and subscribe. You can also rate and review us. That helps a ton. If you don't have money to throw at us, two idiots making dick jokes, you can rate and review us 5 stars and stuff, and share us with your loved ones. Maybe not, your children
Or your mother.
or your mother. Your grandma might not appreciate this either.
No.
But anyway, I'm Lee Evans saying stay spooky.
And I'm Brittany. Stay horrific.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. To get a hold of us and submit your stories, fan mail, and death threats, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and nightofthehorrorfile.com. Our theme song was written and performed by John Brennan, used with permission. Find John at shopjb.bandcamp.com and at badtechno.com. If you like what you hear, leave a good review wherever you listen to podcasts and share the show on your social media. See you next week.